Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where every day we explore the latest trends in tech, but in a language that everyone can understand. But confession time, I don't have all the answers. I'm the questions guy, armed with nothing more but a curious mind that wants to learn from the experts in their field. So when I keep seeing trending articles about customer data platforms or CDPs and how they're dominating conversations, I turn to a previous guest who I knew was an expert who could not only educate me, but also everyone listening too. So Jason Davis is the co-founder and CEO of Simon Data. And Simon Data is a customer data platform that provides enterprise marketers at brands including Blue Apron, Venmo, Equinox, Peloton with live personalized data to help them monitor purchasing trends and predict customer behavior. And you know you're in an established industry when you're drowning in complexity with Frankenstack at the centre. But Simon Data works as a standalone and also plays nice within the CDP sandbox with absolutely everyone. So in our previous conversation, Jason shared advice that he gives to customers around where they can get more value out of that Frankenstack and also when it's time to rip and replace. But this time around, Jason's coming on to talk about what's ahead in 2020 for CDPs, why we can expect more merger and acquisitions, and also share his perspectives on what this means for the industry as a whole. So come with me all the way to New York so we can speak with Jason Davis right now. So a massive warm welcome back to the show, Jason. Can you remind the listeners a little about who you are and what you do, just for anyone that missed our previous conversation?
Thanks, Neil. My name is Jason Davis. I'm CEO of a customer data platform called Simon Data. We're based in New York City, and our platform works by driving a next generation of customer experiences to some of the largest brands in the world.
And customer experience is such a hot topic at the moment. And again, just for anyone that did miss our first conversation last year and to ensure everyone's on the same page, can you remind them exactly how brands are using Simon Data for advanced customer data insights, customer experience, and personalization tech? It's incredibly exciting what you guys do.
Really, the idea behind Simon is rooted in two things. The first is businesses have made tremendous investments in data. They're able to collect data from all touch points on the customer, on the business, within their inventory and more. And we're finally at a place where businesses are able to collect that data and warehouse it. But really, the vision for the business is predicated on this notion that business can do so much more. How can you actually leverage that data? How can you make it accessible, operable, actionable for a non-technical customer, for a marketer, for someone who really owns digital experiences and customer experiences and transform that? What does that mean in terms of nuts and bolts? It means better messaging. It means better email. It means better ad targeting. It means better direct mail, on-site personalization, and much, much more.
And one of the main reasons I invited you back on the show was to ask to share your insights around a big news story last year where Acquia announced it had acquired a customer data platform startup called Agile One. I mean, can you offer an overview on that announcement? And ultimately, what was your gut reaction on hearing that news?
I mean, look, Acquia has a fantastic business. They're rooted in content management, and look, a huge aspect of customer experiences is content. That's where it all begins. I'm sure the opportunity they saw is not just about managing the content. It's really about making sure that the right people get the right content. Agile One, has been around for quite some time. And I'm sure for Acquia, it was a fantastic opportunity for them to bring, some better targeting, some better data capabilities to their core platform. I think more broadly, look, I think CDPs it's a very hot area. I think businesses across the board, from Salesforce and Adobe and Oracle, the world's biggest marketing players, to up and comers like Acquia and beyond, are really looking at the space and trying to figure out how can they leverage data in a better way to enhance their offerings and in turn improve customer experiences.
Fantastic. And if we zoom out even further, what do you think that announcement means for the industry at large? And is there something bigger going on here, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And I think that the short answer for me is look, I mean, this sort of gets back to what I said a minute ago, that at the end of the day, everything comes down to data. It's not enough anymore to have fantastic content. It's not enough anymore to have a fantastic brand. It's all about putting the right message in front of the right person. The only way to do that is to really have that deep foundation that enables businesses, brands to make sure that can execute accordingly. And that really starts with data. That starts with segmentation, and that starts with the ability to leverage information about the customer across all contexts: digital, offline, online, mobile, web, and really everything in between.
I'm going to ask you to stare into your tech crystal ball for a moment, but do you think we can expect to see more merger and acquisitions in 2020 and anticipate even more CDP investment from these big tech giants out there?
I mean, it's a great question. I think the short answer is got to be yes. You look at businesses like Adobe. They've announced their CDP. They actually have had their CDP in market for quite some time. I think they're a bit more advanced as far as some of their, at least their customer data platform strategy relative to others. Some of the other larger players are a bit earlier. So I'd imagine there will be some acquisitions and a bit of consolidation. I mean, in general, there are many questions around marketing technology. The categories is very, very wide. I think in some sense that represents a sort of unbundling in the category. There's just a broader question of whether or not a large marketing cloud can support all the requirements and the expectations of marketers today, and whether or not, in 5 years from now, the status quo will be brands working with a single provider versus brands working with 5, 10, 20, 30 different providers to drive their experiences across the business. In some sense, the vision that we have here and the broader vision for the category is that the CDP is that coordination layer. So as some of the larger players look into their crystal balls and try to figure out what their strategy is and where the market is heading, I think this will be a driver in how they come to their decisions.
And whenever there's big trends and a lot of interest on any particular industry, there's always going to be a little bit of shady activity. But when I say that, I instantly think of a few years ago where there were a few companies sticking blockchain in their title just to ride the wave and watch their share price go sky high, even though they had nothing to do with blockchain. So do you think we're going to see older companies who are going to begin to position themselves as CDPs to try and take advantage of the buzz around the category too, without offering those capabilities of a true CDP?
Yeah, I mean, this is happening already today. And look, I think as the market matures, the winners will emerge, and I think buyers and brands and businesses will have a better sense of what they need from a pure technology perspective. But to your point, certainly, there are many businesses, in the marketplace that we don't consider to be competitors, but still say they have CDP capabilities, and from their perspective, maybe they have better data capabilities than some of their competitors in their direct competitive set. But as far as the vision that we have in the category as we understand it, I think there is a bit of misunderstanding, in terms of what a CDP is, and I don't want to speak directly to how businesses represented themselves as having blockchain technology. We do see a bit of folks raising their hand and saying, "Hey, we have a CDP or CDP capabilities as well." And that's just, I think, natural as any new category emerges that has an intense amount of interest.
And the thing I see as well more and more is business leaders end up being bombarded with all these tech buzzwords. They'll be having phone calls, emails saying AI is the future, this is the best solution. So, and the same with CDP. So my question to you is, for any business leader listening that's getting those kind of requests coming in, how are they best to identify a true CDP from a pretender?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is to ask, really two things. One is, what are my business problems? And two is, how can this platform solve those business problems via my data strategy? In some sense, that is the core problem that the CDP solves. And if there's a very clear connect between those two sides, specifically being able to represent and leverage all the information and data on the customer, from real time to slow moving to historical to content and more. On the one side, and then on the other side, being able to really be the driving force that enables a brand to drive that next generation experience, not just next quarter or in the first half of this year, but throughout 2021 and throughout the next 3, 4, 5 years as really a foundational investment.
And as someone that's working right in the heart of this space, I'm kind of curious, what most excites you about this world, especially in 2020 as it's continuing to evolve? And also, what's your big focus at Simon Data this year?
Yeah, what excites me about the space is look, I think the vision of a CDP in some sense really represents all of the biggest promises that data and data science have really just put in front of us for the last 20 years. When I look at a CDP, in some sense it represents a third evolution of data. The first evolution of data is one of being able to aggregate data into a single place, put it in a single data warehouse, have streaming systems that can capture real-time data from mobile and web contexts. And I think when I look at sort of this data 1.0, there's a degree of maturity in the marketplace. Snowflake, in some sense, is the last mover. You have businesses like Confluent, overnight unicorns, building streaming infrastructure. The second evolution of data, is sort of the ability to analyze the data and to drive business insights. And within there, we've seen maturation as well. Tableau, the world's largest BI platform, was acquired by Salesforce last year. Looker, another massive player, was acquired by Google. And I think when I look at the category of data today, I think we know how to put it in a single place, one. And two is we know how to analyze it and how to get some insights. But really, for me, the CDP represents that third evolution. And that's how do you embed data operationally, into business processes. How do you use it in a way that's 24/7, that's operational, and that directly affects business outcomes. And I think the CDP represents, certainly the largest opportunity within that, and that's influencing, educating, and engaging the customer.
And for anyone listening that wants to explore everything that we've talked about even further, what's the best way of them finding you online and also contacting your team if they're left with any questions?
Yeah, online. I mean, my emails is Jason@SimonData, and certainly, to learn more about the platform, you send an email to hello@SimonData, or submit information on the website.
Excellent. Well, this is your second appearance on the show, and you are officially my go-to guy for anything around this topic. So I'm hoping to get you back on again, especially now that CDPs are dominating conversations. But more than anything, just a big thank you for taking the time to come back on and share your perspectives on what all this means for the industry in a language that everyone can understand. So thanks as always.
Well, thanks, Neil.
And that's how we do it on Broadway. Honestly, I could listen to Jason talk about this stuff forever. And before we even started recording, he was telling me about the tech startup scene in New York and all the different companies and how the area is thriving as a result. And I just wish we had a little bit more time to cover that on today's podcast too. But as I'm quite aware that you do tune in every single day, and time is the only non-renewable resource. And let's face it, I don't want to be the guy that outstays his welcome at a party. Nobody wants to be that guy, right? So a big thank you to Jason for sharing his perspectives about the future of CDPs, what's ahead in 2020, and also why we can expect to see more merger and acquisitions. And finally, of course, for ultimately sharing his perspectives on what all that means for the industry as a whole. But maybe you're an expert too. Whether you're on the number 72 bus listening to this on the way to the office, whether you're on a running machine, doing household chores, whatever it is you're doing, wherever you're listening, rather than shouting at your device that you're listening to this podcast, send me a friendly email to techblogwriter@outlook.com and I will share your insights on this podcast. And also, there's always an optional invite for you to come on here and share your insights, expertise and story too. That's how this podcast works. Everyone's sharing their bit of knowledge together. So please keep your emails and DMs on social coming my way. And you can also get to my website, techblogwriter.com So a big thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.